I'll just start the recording there, and then I will be a minute or so on looking for something to talk about.
Watching your back. I'm with you. Rendezvous at my position.
Get behind me! Marked by the dragon. I have found the enemy! Come and face me!
Ultimate is charging.
Alright, so far, nothing wrong.
If we are to progress, we must claim the objective. Double kill.
Alright, so currently in this fight, I'm noticing probably the main issue being positioning. So, not sure if we want to go like super in depth on this yet, but for the current moment, we're just sitting really far away. Oh, sorry, apologies. I have a screaming child running into the room. That'll be 1 second.
No
All right.
problem.
Okay, I'm good now. So, here we end up sitting really far away when we do have options to get closer to the fight. So we have options, for example, just to come around to here, and then this would just get us a little bit closer. And this also would just give us much better angles. Look at how many characters we can see from here. We can shoot at 1, 2, 3, 4 different enemies in comparison to here where we can see 0 or, 0 or 1, right? So this just gives you a lot better angles to work with, and it just probably gets you a little bit closer to them too, which we might go a little bit more in depth on both of those when we need to. But overall, not like terrible fight. We won it, of course.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, noticing one thing we'll talk about soon here. One tiny little thing is that I'm noticing a little bit of this where we'll continue to shoot even when we don't have our crosshair on something. So notice, for example, here when we're tracking, when we're shooting Doomfist dies, and then we keep shooting as we look over to the left. So just a tiny thing like that where that can just save you on a lot of ammo over time if you just stop shooting when there's nothing to shoot at. So when you kill something and they're dead, and then you let go, and then you look over to something else, and then you start shooting again, or you can use that time to reload. But just not shooting when there's nothing to shoot at is just going to save you ammo, and then that way you actually have ammo for when you need it. Now, little bit of a bigger thing. Let's go out here. We're going to go to the practice range. We're going to go over something called crosshair placement. Are you familiar with this term at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Little
then this
bit.
is So then this is going to be going in depth, doing a review if you've heard it, and then making sure that we're looking to apply it. So here, crosshair placement is just placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the easiest shots. Really, the first big major step to this is making sure that we're aiming at head level. Because if we're walking around, and so far it has appeared as though we're walking around aiming down here, right? When we walk around aiming down here, we naturally hit body shots. Body shots is just going to be the default. Now, body shots do half the damage that headshots do, or vice versa. Headshots do twice the damage that body shots do in general. So therefore we want to be hitting headshots a lot more than body shots, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 shots is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots, right? So half the damage. We want to be doing double damage, so the very easy way to do this is walk around aiming at head level. When we do this, headshots become normal, becomes easy. If we're walking around aiming at body level, it becomes natural. We turn the corner, we're shooting down a corridor, we're shooting into a shield, right? All body shots, we aim up at head level. Now all the shots just naturally become headshots because we're keeping our crosshair there. So that's the first major step to crosshair placement that we're not really utilizing at all, and then that's just gonna lead to a lot of a lack of damage. Next step in crosshair placement is aiming where we know people are going to be, or pre-aiming. So if we know bot's top left, we're going to pre-aim at head level top left. So as soon as that bot turns the corner, we're already aiming there. Okay, we know he's on the left, so instead of coming out and doing like a slow pan to the left, right, we're going to come out already aiming head level on the left here, so that when we turn the corner, we're just already aiming at the head, right? It's just called pre-aiming. These guys are on a slope, so the same way that we look down on a Torb and up on a tank, we're going to look down on these guys, so that when we turn this corner, we're just already aiming straight at the head so that shots become easier to land. So there are just some basics when it comes to crosshair placement. Especially the head level 1 is going to help drastically to just make your aim a whole lot easier.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Ready for battle.
Okay, so you can see it during this fight here, if you'd like to take a look. So notice when Doomfist comes in, where we're aiming at Doomfist, his kneecaps, right? And then we shoot a lot of body shots, and then we're looking at the ground here, right? Looking at Reinhardt's body, right? So just aiming up here is just going to increase our damage by a whole lot.
I've got you in my sights. No! I can do this with my eyes closed.
Alright, so, noting two things here. So we'll talk about two different things. So firstly, so good timing on the visor, by the way. That's a completely fine time to use it. In fact, it's a good time to use it. Besides that, we do end up swapping between a couple targets regularly here. So there are times where swapping is necessary. There are other times where it's not necessarily a good thing to be constantly swapping targets, because that means that we actually never end up killing anything. So here we do swap from the Hog to the Doomfist, which is a good swap. That's a good swap, which I'll talk about that in a second, about why that is. But here we swap over to Doomfist, and then Doomfist gets half HP, and then we stop shooting at Doomfist. We shoot at Mercy. Mercy and Soldier are stacked, so we start shooting Mercy. But then we back around the corner for maybe a not so important, like nobody was shooting at us, so there actually was no reason why I back up there. So we stop shooting at Mercy. We come back around. We start shooting at Mercy, which is good. Then we swap over. So actually, sorry, let me apologize there. Less of a point than I thought it was. So let's move on to the second point here, and that was that we were focusing the Hog a little bit too much when we probably could have been shooting at other targets. So in general, you have what you call target priority, and target priority is who do I want to be shooting at? And generally, the answer to that question is going to be you want to be shooting at the easiest targets to kill, because those are going to be the things that you can kill the easiest, and therefore you get value that way. Now, tanks are usually not that. Tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have shields, they have armor, they have tanking abilities, and or they just, like a Hog has a bunch of HP and a self-heal. So, in general, Hog is going to be much harder to kill than all the squishies right next to Hog here. So that doesn't mean that we never shoot at tanks. We shoot at tanks when they're low, when they're out of position, when they're the only thing that we can shoot at. But here we can just very clearly shoot at anything else if we choose to shoot at anything else. Yet we choose to shoot, during this entire fight, we choose to shoot at the Hog when we have a bunch of other options. So here we shoot a Hog. The moment Soldier turns that corner, our attention should probably swap to Soldier, because Soldier is much easier to kill here. Hog is being pocketed by supports, 600 HP, not going to die very easily, right? But we keep on Hog, we swap the Soldier a little bit there, and then we come back around, we're still on Hog, right? And then we swap to the Doomfist. Not like we haven't seen it happen like continuously yet, but typically like when you see that once or twice, it usually happens. So that's why I'm just mentioning it here. Though I probably will look to see look for repetitions here.
I can do this with my eyes closed.
Nice kill.
The fight ain't over yet. I'm taking the objective. Get over here.
Okay, very nice.
Don't.
Group up at my position.
Meteor strike. I'm just getting started.
Alright, so that flank, I might recommend. So Soldier is a very flanky character, so typically you can go in flanks. So a lot of times you have to measure the like kind of risk versus reward. I would say that's a more dangerous flank because you come out of the flank being directly on top of them and not really having many escape options for survivability. Additionally, you don't. I wouldn't say that's a situation where you necessarily need to go on a flank because they have to come through this tiny little choke point, which is already an advantage. So in general, there maybe don't need to go for that flank. Not a major issue. So I don't think we need to spend too much time on it, but just might recommend against that. There we do get picked by the hog, so just watching out for the hog hook. Maybe you can look to dodge it with some sprinting around as options. You can also helix him, and then helixing him will boop him and make it so that it's harder for him to actually hook you, can mess him up.
وريهم قوتك. Behind you. Healing sleep.
Okay. Good dodging. Alright, so we got out.
Up with me. Group up at my position. Healing enough.
Alright, so since I haven't seen it actually being used for this too often, let's talk real quick about how you should be using your Helix rocket. So Helix rocket in general, you kind of use it two different ways depending on how far away you are from people. So when you are essentially when you are close to people, you want to use Helix as a finisher. And this is something I actually I've kind of yet to see us use it as. So when people are right next to us, we want to use it as a finisher because we can go 1-2 and then right click, and then they are dead pretty much instantly. It's what you call burst damage. When we burst people's health down, they just have no time at all to run away, to get healing, to use abilities, to use tanking abilities, whatever. They just don't have time to escape, so it secures the kill. Whereas if we were to like Helix first, well then they have that extra time to get away because it's less of a speedy kill. When we're close to them, it's a little bit more delayed. It gives them a little bit of extra time. It's not a ton, but it is extra time for them to escape. Whereas usually you want to use the Helix. And then for another example would be like you could Helix, and then at the same time you Helix here, they just get healed and then they don't die, right? But if you were to Helix as the finisher, well then you guarantee the kill. It secures it. So in any case, right, this differs at a range because now at a range, it's actually going to have a travel time on the Helix. So therefore, if you were to go shoot and then Helix, it would take time for it to reach them and then it's no longer effective. So when you are at a range, now you can fire the Helix and then shoot, and then it actually all comes in and bursts them at the exact same time. So it's a lot more effective at a range to shoot first. Now, so far, I just have yet to see us using it as a finisher, even at closer ranges, even in situations where we could maybe use it as a finisher when we're getting people low HP. We'll just kind of toss it in there when people are half HP or so, right? Like there'll be a hog, and he'll be pretty low, and we'll be right here, right? We got him down to here, and then we'll just randomly add in a Helix, right? When he still has a bunch of health to go. When we could shoot him a couple more times and then Helix after as the finisher, right? So that's just a little bit more efficient of a way to use Helix rocket, but let's head back to the game we're in.
Okay, yeah, that's actually really good. I can work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for battle.
Healing enough.
So here, this one wasn't as necessary that we use it as a finisher, just because we're just poking as of the moment we can use it. All right. I am noticing that our gameplay. I think I'd like to shift your focus from I'm just going to spam to I'm going to try to get kills, because it feels as though you're approaching fights with the perspective of I'm going to hold down my left click and I'm going to do a bunch of damage, right? And that means that whenever I noticed that we never reload, like I just in terms of like just habits, I've never seen us reload aside from going down to 0 and reloading automatically. I've never seen us not hold, once we press left click, we continue to hold down left click until the entire clip is fired, and we do a lot of shield and tank spamming, right? So just in terms of those habits, it does not appear as though we're approaching fights with the intent to secure a bunch of kills and carry the fight by getting a bunch of kills. The way that you would approach a fight if you're looking to do that is intentionally focusing the squishier targets, not spending the entire fight shooting in the shield, taking time to reload and not shoot when there's not good targets to shoot at. So when you're just stuck there shooting at a shield and you think, okay, maybe in the next 2 seconds I might have something better to shoot at, you can use that time to reload. That way you're not just sitting there shooting at a shield. You could actually be having ammo to shoot at the squishies. So I just am noticed that that's just something I'm noticing here is that we're spending a lot of time just kind of spamming when we could be looking to secure kills. We will go more in depth on this as it continues to come up though.
Okay, yeah.
So notice additionally here, right, like how Reinhardt's the first target we're acquiring as we turn this corner, right? So full HP, 500, 500 HP target, armor, shield versus Mercy and Soldier at some point, right? Who are both out in the open, very easy for us to pick off and shoot at. Additionally, we are also walking back into a lost fight here. So let's talk a little bit of how do you tell whether or not you have won or lost a fight, and then a couple implications that come along with that. So, first, the main way that you tell this is you take a look at kill feed. When you are up or down 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage or a disadvantage. When you have an advantage, you play more aggressively. When you have a disadvantage, you play more passively. When you are up or down 2 to 3 people, that is a won or lost fight. So here in the situation, whereas a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a 1, 2, 3, this is a lost fight. Now, other factors, we don't have to go super in depth here, but there's other factors that go into it too. Like notice, for example, both of your other your other teammates are 1 HP each, which is going to be an additional factor that means that this is 100% a lost fight. So in a lost fight, you want to look to get out if possible, and if you cannot get out, you want to let them kill you. This prevents you from staggering, or if you've already lost the fight, don't walk into already lost fights. Are you familiar with what staggering is?
Yeah,
Or
it's
what the term
basically
is?
like if like these guys die and I'm the last guy and then like I die 20 seconds later, now the team fight is delayed because I'm basically spawning like after the fight was
Yes.
already done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got it right there, right? And then our team could even walk in without us, which is an issue because then they're walking in with a disadvantage. And then we can start stagger trains where we stagger and then our teammates walk in without us and then they stagger and then we just it keeps going on and on and on. So staggering's no good. We actually did that when we died to the Roadhog over here, which wasn't very good. And we almost did it when we ran back into the fight earlier and then almost died to the Doomfist, which was another example of a fight that we walked into when we were already losing. So here we're walking into an already lost fight. Not a good decision. We should have just held back and stayed out. Additionally, yeah, and then when you have lost or won a fight, you just play extra aggressive, and then in both scenarios, you don't want to use any ults if you've won or lost the fight. So here we just walk back into the fight. We immediately acquire Reinhardt, so both of which just aren't necessarily great decisions. We do escape with our lives, though. It just opens up for the potential of us dying there. Okay. Okay. Really good Helix there. Might like that might be the range, a range in which you could it's not necessarily like a terrible thing here because we get the kill. Might be a range in which you could just use the Helix as the finisher, but it's not a very massive deal. You get the kill here, not a big thing.
We all have got you in my sights. Resistance neutralized.
Okay. Slight tiny awareness things. Make sure we're paying attention to Ana there because we don't actually notice that Ana's here. When we see, you can see her her bullets Here you see those traveling across the screen. That's just her bullets trail. You can also hear her shooting from over there. Additionally, you can see her health bar when you run up there. You could see a little tip of her head. So just a bunch of different odd like awareness things that possibly just could open up for free kill there if we were paying attention, and then also just could stop us from getting slept here. But besides that, really good kills, good flank with the visor. Okay. So far, you say you are currently silver, yeah?
Yeah, I
Or
was at this game. I was like 1950, and I'm currently as of last night like just barely in 1800. I
okay.
lost like
Have
7 games
you?
in a row last night.
All right. So that was something that I actually was going to ask about. So your gameplay, as of this current game, appears to be above a silver level. I would say that currently this is probably like gold the plat level of gameplay. So I'm thinking to myself when I'm like analyzing that, okay, there's probably something else that's causing the drop. Now, of course, that could be things such as inconsistency. Like this game could be a game where you're playing much higher above your usual performance. Another factor which you actually just mentioned is what you call tilt queuing. Are you would you say so that game 7 games in a row that you lost last night? Um, a lot of times you typically don't want to play that much as to lose that much in a row. So what you can do is you can because essentially let me explain that for a bit. When you start losing, typically you keep losing. This is could be for a multitude of reasons. There could be a factor causing you to lose, such as like maybe you're super tired, so you keep losing because you're super tired. So if you start losing, it's an indicator that you're going to keep losing. You can also get tilted. That's why you call it tilt queuing, because you get upset and frustrated and tilted, and you keep playing. And then since you are tilted, you start performing worse, which causes you to lose more games. Some usually just when you start losing, you keep losing. It's a general principle to keep in mind. So a good way to get around just dropping 7 games in a row is to just set a limit on yourself. So what you can say is that, like, okay, if I lose, 3 games in a row, I have to take a break, right? And you take a 30-minute break, an hour break, you come back, you try again. If you lose again, okay, you're done for the day. And then you can still play quick play. You can still play on maybe on a different role if you don't care about your other roles. You can still play on an alternate account. You can do whatever you want to do. Just don't play on your main role on your main account, because you're just going to end up losing if you're already lost 4 games in a row. It's not gonna those next 3 games probably aren't gonna turn out too well. So that's just a general rule of thumb. If you feel like the games are extra bad, you could even do it. It doesn't have to be a hard set 3. It could be 2. If you lose 3 games in a row, but you're like, okay, I'm feeling really solid right now. I just happened to be unlucky. I got I had a 10 KD in each of those games, but we still lost somehow. So I'm pumped. I'm set. Then go ahead and go. It's just a general rule to set that 3 game limit for yourself so that you're not losing 7 games in a row. So would you say that that's something that happens more so like kind of on a regular basis, or is that just like, oh, last night was the first time that's ever happened to me?
That's definitely not the first time ever. It's
Mm,
probably not like super regular. It's
yep.
maybe like once in a while I'll just hit a bad streak like that. But yeah,
Mm,
that makes a lot of sense actually. Even just like
yep.
getting out, taking a break for a bit. Like I wasn't necessarily like tilting last night, but yeah,
Mm,
I definitely just wasn't winning.
yeah.
So yeah,
Mm,
just taking a break and even just like putting a stop to that, no matter what the
yes.
issue is.
Mm.
That makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And then that tilts the game play. Sorry, I'm using tilt in a different way there. It tilts the
Yeah.
gameplay towards your. There's a different word there, but I'm forgetting it. It prefers your wins over your losses, right? So you're gonna be winning more than you're actually losing because you're playing when when you're winning rather than playing when you're losing. The other factor that I could foresee here is just inconsistencies, which of course are gonna happen to everybody. So inconsistencies definitely are something that you want to iron out. Just for my own purposes, that probably would help a little bit. Would you say that this right here so far has been your like average gameplay? Like you'd say this is how you usually play or better, or would you say that this is above average or like some of the best you've played?
This is pretty average.
Pretty
Yeah,
average, okay.
I kind of picked this one on purpose because
Mhm.
yeah, this is I've had a bunch of games where we just total blowouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one took a forever. It was actually super close in the end. I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty decent.
Okay, so that sounds good. So then we'll keep analyzing. We'll find stuff to talk about. Okay, I like that we're coming in on the left side here. We're doing good at taking off angles. Noting though that we are okay. So yeah, again, that's fine because really the Reinhardt right now is the only target to be shooting at. Noticing a little bit of like just kind of spam fire there at nothing. Let's talk a little bit about your distancing because sometimes we aren't pushing up when we can push up. So let's talk a little bit about your range here on Soldier. So Soldier, like most other characters, has a preferred range, and that is because he doesn't want to play too close. Of course, you're never playing too close, but you don't want to play on top of people because there's other characters that do close range better than you. So you probably want to start off your preferred range at around 15 meters or so. But then even beyond that, you can go too far because you have what you call the main one is fall off damage, which means that the further away we go, the less damage we do. So here I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 headshot kill, but I go back to here and let's see, it does actually start off here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots to kill, right? So right now we have reached fall off range where we now do less damage. Now that gets more and more extreme to where now we come back here and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shots to kill, and it goes up to what, like 14 or 15 or something like that, to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? So it just takes a lot more shots the further away you are. So in general, we have a preferred range, and that's probably, and then the other thing to keep in mind as well that also impacts this is that targets are just a lot harder to hit the further away they are. Smaller targets are more difficult targets to hit. This is a lot harder to hit than this, right, when it's right next to us here. So because of sign here, right? So therefore, we also want to play closer because of that. So your preferred range on Soldier is probably going to be around 15 to probably around like 30, and then you can get closer and you can get further if the situation calls for it. But there have been a couple situations where we just are sitting back here when we just have the option to push up to here, right, and hold up this and get a little bit closer. So just making sure we're doing that when we have the opportunities in front of us, it would just allow us to do more damage and whatnot and be more accurate.
Okay, yeah.
Traveling to Nepal. Ready for battle.
Okay, so this is kind of a situation where we're just kind of chilling in the back here and we don't really have any good angles when we could be push up to here, right? Just a little bit closer, getting closer within range, or coming left side a little bit faster to actually shoot at things. We're just not giving ourselves angles to work with to actually shoot at things, which isn't very good.
Tactical necessity.
The objective is now
Support requested.
Alright, so here in the situation, first off, we're a little bit close there. So then Doomfist slams at us. Want to be aware of it. Maybe could sprint away from it. Not a big deal. So we Helix him here, but then the issue is that we run back towards him for a second, and then additionally we don't drop health pack at any point here, and I'd say even maybe rather than helixing, you might want to just instantly run away to get outside of his range, because taking that time to helix, yes, does some damage, but then also gives him time to punch you when we could have maybe started already turned around and be sprinting. So couple things that lead to the death here. Not dropping health pack, running back into him, not running away fast enough, and then maybe also just not paying attention to him jumping on us in the first place, because we could have maybe not even let him slam us if we were paying attention and were jumping out of the way. And then in that situation, that's our impact on losing the fight, is dying there. Dying first is usually not a very good thing to be happening, because then we just lose our impact and we end up putting an impact on losing the fight.
Gotcha.
Okay, a little bit delayed to fire that Helix.
Stay down.
Right, like he was already low enough health, and we kind of were delayed with him, and that led to us missing. Okay, kind of tank spamming. We have the option for like searching out the Ana and the Mercy, right? Because it's not always just who's in my line of sight. Sometimes it's, okay, if I try to kill Reinhardt here, it's probably not going to work out too well. I'm going to spend 10 seconds shooting at him versus the 3 seconds it could take me to take out the Ana, right? And then I could spend 10 seconds to Reinhardt and then maybe even not even get the kill. So here we could actively seek out the Ana, because all we have to do is just keep our eyes and ears open. We see Ana's down there on the right. We move. I don't even know if you knew this, but you can stand on this ledge and move over here, and then boom, we can just see on the head. Or we can move to the right here, see her. We can drop here and see her and shoot her in the head, and then we get a free kill. Versus shooting at the Reiner and not accomplishing very much when he's full HP and being pocketed by a bunch of people. So again, target priority. Additionally, we come across a couple scenarios where maybe we just don't know where Ana is, and that's kind of maybe a little bit of an audio awareness thing. So on the note of audio awareness, just some audio awareness settings. Go to sound. Couple things here. Firstly, I'd recommend turning on or you're turning up your master volume. Make sure that it's, you have things audible. It's not super quiet. Then I might recommend turning it really far down or off your music volume, as often that can just clutter with your in-game sounds. Then I would make sure that you have surround sound enabled within your headset. If it's not an option on your headset to enable surround sound, then go to in-game and turn on Dolby Atmos for headphones. That's the in-game equivalent to surround sound, and that's just sound that surrounds you, right? And that's just going to allow you to have better audio awareness. Now, all these can be not great settings, and you can still have good audio awareness if you're actively listening and keeping your ears open by making sure that we're actively listening for footsteps and gunshots and abilities and ultimates, and then that will allow us to know that the Ana is there, and then therefore actually get a free kill.
I gotcha.
Might want to drop a health pack there. Like, all we have to do here when we see that we're dueling we need to get healed up anyways. Just drop it like the moment you start shooting at Doomfist. Noticing a little bit of a hesitancy to use it. Don't be hesitant to use health pack. It's just gonna that alone, just dropping health pack here could help us win this fight. If you know that you're getting a duel with someone, you might want to drop it. Additionally, we drop into his his punch range when we maybe could sit up here and then be a harder target to punch. Not impossible target to punch, harder target to punch than if we're dropping here.
Join me. Group up with me. Fall in here. Don't let the dragon consume you. Meteor strike.
Alright, so last two fights, the main primary issue has been that we have not acquired value before we've lost. So therefore, think of it as though, because I just want to explain here why we're losing. Your impact on losing these past two fights was your lack of impact, right? Because you did not carry by getting a bunch of kills, that was how you lost the fight. So then in the fight before that, I think the three fights ago, then our impact on losing was us dying. So that was our impact. But making sure that we're seeking out value sooner. So possibly like not here in this situation when Doomfist dives us and we see we have an Ana with us, we have a health pack. Maybe instead of running away from Doomfist, we can look to duel him sooner, and then not dragging out that fight means that we can go and kill other things faster. Additionally, I might recommend taking that. I mean, taking bottom left is not a bad angle, but taking top right just may be better because we come out here on the high ground, maybe a little bit closer to everybody. So I might recommend trying to take this again, and then if you feel like you're being heavily contested by Doomfist, then that's fine. But there's not a he's not you. I mean, you guys are 1-for-1 up there, so it's not like he's heavily rolling you if you try every time you've tried to go there. So yeah, that's the reasoning behind why we've lost both of these fights. So looking for value sooner is definitely something that should be on our mind. Okay, probably should be looking to Visor here because we're coming up on like 2 seconds before the end of the round. So making sure they're in that situation, maybe trying to like just go for the touch, trying to Visor if possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So team went a different direction. That's fine. Nice kill. Might be that range is where we can just probably turn around that corner, fire Helix before we start actually going in and engaging. So there, that's the range in which you probably Helix first. Okay, more just kind of spamming, wasting the ammo.
Objective is now active.
Okay. Bubble's not gonna last that long to where you should be changing your focus from the Junkrat who's like right next to you and already a little bit low HP inside of your whole team, to the Zarya who's full HP, a mile away and is right next to cover, right? The bubble doesn't really warrant that change in who you're focusing. Another general a kind of a tip for like when and when not to shoot at bubbles. You shoot at bubbles when you think that you can kill the person inside a bubble, right? That's generally when you purposefully shoot at bubble. Here, you probably can kill the Junkrat. Junkrat, you have 4 people looking at Junkrat, so he's probably gonna die. He's very out of position. No matter what, Junkrat's dead. So therefore, if you can get the kill, go ahead and like shoot at bubble, or you could have just waited it out. But if you can't get the kill, then you don't want to shoot a bubble, of course, because then you're just giving Zarya energy. And then we do turn away our attention from the Zarya to the Junkrat after he's already dead, and then by that point, that's just letting Zarya get away when we could have taken that time to shoot at her when she's very low HP. So just kind of a flip-flop of when we should be shooting at who. We shoot at Zarya when we should be shooting at Junkrat, and then when we should be shooting at Zarya, who we did get low, we swap back to looking at Junkrat, right? So make sure we're keeping in, we're looking at that one target to secure the kill before we're just turning away and splitting our attention. Okay, question, I'm just kind of inquiring about it, not necessarily is going to lead to anything in particular, but what is your sensitivity and DPI at?
I changed DPI to 1000 and I run 5.6 in game.
Okay, so okay, 1000 by 5.6. Yeah, that's not too sharp. That's like a medium sensitivity. Okay, so that's not too bad. So like I said, that doesn't lead me anywhere. I was just wondering like if you had a really high sensitivity. Might recommend possibly lowering it a little bit, as sometimes it seems like a little shaky when you're trying to stay on target. Besides that, not a big deal. Medium sensitivities aren't too bad for you, right? That's not a bad sensitivity to have. Might just recommend swapping over to a low one though for a little bit more pinpoint accuracy. Okay, firing Helix to finish off Ana here. In this situation, just firing Helix like right now kills her, but we kind of delay with it. Okay. Probably don't want to be dropping from high ground here because we drop kind of inside of them. So Zarya turns, you're dead. And on top, like even if we think she's not gonna turn, higher rank Zarya's will turn. She'll hear you, she'll see you shooting, she'll turn, and you always want to be playing as if you're at a higher rank, because if you're not playing as if you're at a higher rank, that higher rank if you do get into a game with a higher rank player, which is where you're aiming or trying to rank up, you're not gonna be able to hang, because then Zarya's gonna kill you. So here we're like 3 seconds away from health pack. Probably just stay on high ground, shoot at them from up here, drop a health pack whenever you get it, because we can just sit right here and shoot at them from above and be completely fine, as long as we're playing it safe. Instead, we kind of jump straight into them, which is probably not the play, and then we do die immediately, right? So I actually spoke a little too soon there. So we do actually die immediately, and then that, therefore, was this is our impact on losing this fight. So we want to make sure we're looking to stay alive. Deaths aren't any great. Usually, whenever we're dying first, that's pretty bad, because when we die first, second, third, that's us. That's our impact on losing. When we're dying like third, fourth, fifth, fourth, fifth, sixth, that's the point in which the fights, a lot of the times, not all the time, but in a lot of cases, the fight could already be lost, in which case it's not as bad that you die. Sometimes it can actually be a good thing if you let yourself get killed, but when you're dying first, that's not very good. So we want to make sure we're staying alive there. That way we can actually do things. There's an on our bottom left here that we didn't. Oh wait, no. What the? Oh, okay. I got confused there. I saw the on a stream and she was shooting at him from the other direction, and I thought it was coming from the opposite direction in which it was coming from. Very nice. Drop a health pack for yourself. When you're facing against a Doomfist who's trying to punch you, don't keep in mind, right? He's only going to be able to kill you if he can actually punch it into something, right? You're not going to die, because that's the main damage comes from when you connect with the surface. You don't take damage from him hitting you. You take damage when you hit a surface. So if he were to, for example, if we're standing like right here and Doomfist punches us, then we go backwards a little bit, but then we don't connect with anything because we're not close enough to any surfaces, so we don't actually take very much damage. Here, very easy way to just get away from Doomfist is just run away from things that he can punch us into. Even if that means just running into him, that could be an option. We could also just drop to this right side. It'd probably be harder for him to hit us if we run to this right side and stand over here. It would make it just more difficult because we're making him have to drop to get to us. But instead we just kind of stand still there. Might also recommend just look to dodge it. Don't stand still into it. And then also, again, drop health pack, which will probably help keep you alive. And then once again, dying is our impact on losing that fight. Now, I actually don't know. I might actually add up your deaths at the end here, see what we're working with. I actually don't recall how many times you died.
Enemy contact.
I've got you in my sights. I love the smell of pulse munitions.
Alright, good job keeping your ears open. That was good. Drop a health pack. That's gonna keep you alive here. No reason not to. Drop a health pack. Drop a health pack. There you go. Just a little delayed. Probably want to be looking to retake high ground here in between fights. Yep, there you go. Okay. In general, and this is kind of a little bit of a no-duh, Doomfist has a better close range than you. Look to stay away from him. So far, we've kind of, every single time he's engaged us, we've let him close that distance very easily. We haven't kept our distance from him. We don't, when we get into fights, the first thing you should do if Doomfist is getting close to you is get far away from him. You should be running away. You should be looking to put more space between yourselves, because you don't want him to be able to get off his uppercut, which is close range, and you don't want him to be able to get off his punch, which is, easier to hit at close range. You don't want him to get off his slam, which is little bit, it depends, right? How he's using it, but can be close range. So it's just gonna be easier for him to use all of his abilities close range versus you, who's a medium range character. So keep your distance. Don't let him get on top of you. Be aware of where he's at. Pay attention to him. And then that's gonna help you stay alive and stay away from him a lot easier. Like
Okay, yeah.
something like you could do is like if you know, yo, they got they have a Doomfist. Doomfist is probably gonna be coming from right side. Is like just play off of this top left, but instead notice that like when we see him bottom right, we kind of like run towards him, right? We walk into him there.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna start speeding up here because I have a couple things I want to get to before we start wrapping up. Nice kill. Probably didn't need to drop from high ground like if we had killed or paid attention to Doomfist. All right. So in general, I'm going to real quick do a quick run through. I just want to count how many deaths we had. So we were dead 1. Okay, and then there's 1 around here somewhere. 2, 3.
I've got you
If
in my
well,
sights.
no, I won't count that one. That's you're good for that. 3, 4, 5,
Walking dog. My ultimate.
6. All right, 7. All right, so on the death count, it's okay. Is that yeah? Okay, so death count itself actually hasn't been too bad. I'd mainly focus on the easily preventable aspect of it because sometimes you can die too much, and then I just want you to keep in mind. I'll just say it anyways. When you die, it's usually a lot worse than people think. When you die, it's 10 seconds of respawn time. It's also 10 seconds of walk back time, which means overall you're wasting essentially around 20 seconds per death. When that really adds up over the course of all your deaths. Like in that game, if you had like 8 deaths, that means that over the course of 8 deaths, right, like 8 times 20 and then divide by 60, that means that you were essentially dead for 2 minutes and 40 seconds, right? Which that you could also die more than that in games, right? Not saying that you do, but that's a lot of time. That's a lot, time where you could be getting like 2 visors off, right? So deaths typically aren't great. You want to cut back on as many deaths as possible. It means you have more impact, and it's not just that you're having 0 impact. It also means that you're having negative impact because your team is now losing that fight because of you. So I'd be really careful to make sure you're not dying just the first every single fight, because we did die a lot, first in a couple fights, and a lot of times there are decently preventable deaths. They're deaths that we could have stayed alive, and if we could have stayed alive, they're fights that we could have won, and duels we could have won, and kills we could have gotten, right? So there's a lot of easily preventable ones, so I'd keep your eye on that. 4 different ways that people typically die are poor positioning, being out of position, and that's like if you're too far on the open, a lack of awareness, right? Like if you don't know that Doomfist is on top of you, misuse of abilities, such as if you don't place health pack, and then a last one would be over aggression, such as if you run into the Doomfist, right? So pay attention to which one was it, why did I die. Additionally, one other topic that I want to go over is the application process over everything that we just talked about. Because you might be saying, well, Boogie, yeah, I get it, I should die less, but like, dying less, isn't that pretty vague? How do I actually stop myself from dying more, right? Like that's something I want to do that, but like how do I actually do that? So let's discuss that. You work on dying less the exact same way that you work on anything that you're trying to work on, and that is that while you are playing, you're going to make sure that you're focusing on your gameplay and focusing on that specific aspect of it. So that means that you're not going to just autopilot, you're not going to just play to play, and contrary to popular belief, you're not just going to purely play to win, as when you purely play to win, you're just going to stagnate. You're just going to stay in the exact same spot. You're never going to improve. But when you play to improve, you actually end up winning more. Now, what that actually specifically looks like is while you're playing, you're going to be thinking to yourself, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Positioning, positioning, positioning. Doom, doom, doom. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Right. You're gonna give yourself a constant reminder to be thinking about staying alive. And when you do that, you're going to notice, I actually stay alive more because I'm thinking about it. And you're putting effort and attention and focus into it. Now, once you do that for a long enough period of time, it forms it as a positive habit. So you no longer need to think about it nearly as much. It just comes naturally. And then you can look to work on something else because it's already down and you can put your focus somewhere else. Now, I would recommend we talked about a bunch of things. Don't try to do everything all at once. That will probably get overwhelming for you. Instead, focus on one category of things or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. And we'll talk about that in a moment here. So did that all make sense in terms of how you look to work on things?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty good. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Alright,
you there. Yeah.
so now we are going to, real quick, I'm going to show a tech thing, and then we're going to do a quick review, go over the main points, and then wrap up from there. So, real quick, little bit of not necessarily tech, but just how you should be using Helix. When you're aiming Helix, we already talked about aiming head level, but you aim a little bit differently when you're using Helix, because we want to be aiming at their feet when we use Helix. Because that means that even if we were to, or let's say we miss, we aim Helix here, we miss, it goes sailing off into nothingness. But if we aim at their feet and then we miss, well, now we still hit the ground next to them, and then they dodged it. If we miss, we still hit the ground, and then we do splash damage. So we aim at the floor, we miss, we do splash damage, we still get a bunch of damage, right? So that doesn't mean you have to stare at their feet. It means that we can go pew pew, look down and shoot, pew pew, right? Something like that. And you don't want to be aiming underneath their feet. You actually want to be aiming at their feet. You still want the direct damage because then that's how you do all of the damage, right? But it's aiming at their feet so that if we miss, we still get extra damage. And then that's just how you use it. But moving on.
You got a lot to
In general, ability usage. So Helix Rocket, we talked about making sure that you're using it differently at different ranges. We just talked about the text 2 seconds ago. We talked about at longer ranges, you Helix first. Closer ranges, you Helix as a finisher, which we don't really do too often. Besides that, make sure that we're actually using our health pack. It's not abilities that you don't use. Don't do nothing, right? It's not going to do anything for you if you're not using it. Drop it, like the moment you get into a duel, you should basically be dropping it, right? Unless you're like 100% confident you can do without it, right? But you should pretty much be dropping it anytime you know that you're going to be taking that you have taken damage or will be taking damage soon, which is something we don't really consider too often, right? If you're getting into a duel, you're probably going to take damage. If you're running into a fight and you come up here on the high ground and the fight's happening below you, and you start shooting at people, you're probably going to take damage, so drop a health pack, right?
You got a lot to learn.
Besides that, use sprint. Make sure that we're sprinting around, trying to run away from like Doomfist, and just anytime you're not shooting, you should be sprinting and whatnot. And then that's pretty much it. Overall ability usage is probably like a low to medium priority for you to work on. Now, one thing I actually add in here because I just thought about it. Make sure that you're 80 spamming, so or strafing, sorry, 80 strafing. That just means that you're going left, right. So rather than just kind of standing still, which we did sometimes, we're moving around, so it just makes us a much harder target to hit. You want to make sure you're not doing this too fast, because then we're just kind of standing still from their perspective. Same thing if you go forwards and backwards. We're just from their perspective, we're standing still. If we're going too long, then we become very easily predictable, and you can shoot at me because I'm walking in a straight line. So you want to find a nice medium side, mix it up, be random, add in a crouch. Again, don't spam crouch, but add in a crouch once in a while. That's going to duck your head, hitbox, make it harder for you to hit, and then be random with it. Don't just do the same exact thing, left, right, left, right, left, right. You want to mix it up, left, left, right, 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 left, left, right. Mix it up, be creative, add in some crouches. So it should look something like this where you're just moving around, right? So that's just something to keep in mind while you're playing, is that you want to be doing that so that you're not being a super easy target to kill. Moving on, ultimate usage, honestly pretty good. Like a couple times where I mentioned tiny things, nothing real important. Overall, low priority for you to work on with your ultimate. Mechanics, make sure you're aiming at head level, make sure you're pre-aiming, so keep good crosshair placement, keep that in mind. Target priority, make sure that you're aiming at the easiest things to kill, so aim at the squishy targets, not the tanks, because they're usually going to be easier things to kill. Make sure that you're intentionally seeking out kills and not just kind of sitting there spamming at shields and tanks. Make sure that we are reloading when there's just nothing to shoot at, good, and then also just stop shooting when there's nothing to shoot at. So like if we, what we would do is we would get this kill and then we just keep shooting and then do this, right? And then we just waste a bunch of ammo. When we could shoot, stop, shoot, right? And then we have a bunch of ammo left over. So make sure when you click the button, you're not just hard holding. You can let go once you stop, once you get that kill. Use the time to reload as well. Besides that, I think that's about it within mechanics. Overall, probably like a medium, possibly medium high priority for you to work on. For the moment, we'll put it at a medium. All right, moving on, positioning, make sure that you're taking high grounds. We didn't really talk about a ton of positioning. Make sure that you're getting closer. Your preferred range is like 15 to 30, and you can do further back and closer if you need to, but make sure you're looking to keep that range on people. Additionally, make sure that when we actually can't see things that we're rotating, sometimes like we would do this, where we would get a kill, there'd be nobody in front of us, and then we just kind of sit here and wait for people to come to us. Don't wait for people to come to you. You go to them. So we get the kill, and then we rotate so we can see these guys, right? Just do that so you can actually see people. And then I think that is about it when it comes to positioning. So overall, that probably goes to like a low to medium priority for you to work on. Moving on, awareness, right? Awareness, I make sure that you're paying attention to your health bar, or drop health pack, or request healing when you are low. That's going to get you healing faster. Make sure that, let's see what else is there. Make sure you're paying attention to your audio awareness and just paying attention to where people are and listening, keeping your ears open. Keep your eyes generally open, paying attention to what's happening in kill feed. 1 to 2 is an advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. Make sure you're not staggering yourself in lost fights. Get out or let them kill you. Don't use ultimates. Don't walk into fights that you've already lost, so pay attention to what's going on around you. Additionally, just pay attention to what team comp dictates playstyle. So what comp are they running? If they're on a Doomfist, keep your range from Doomfist. Make sure you're paying attention to him. Look to avoid him. Because he is technically a little bit of a counter to you. Not like a super hard one, but he is better at dueling than you are. So keep all that in mind. Be aware of your surroundings. Overall, that probably goes to a medium priority for you to work on. Moving on, survivability. Survivability, make sure you're just staying alive and in general and trying to stop deaths, especially easily preventable ones. Not all deaths can you prevent, but most of them you can. There's usually something you can look to fix. So if you die a lot less, you'll be able to do a lot more. So look to cut those out. Overall, though, probably deaths was like a low to medium for you to work on. Overall, out of the gameplay that I saw, I would not say that you had anything that was like super major, that was like top in the charts, which happens sometimes. You just have a little bit of everything to work on, which is totally fine. It just means that you just need to work on, you have to pick something out, focus on that thing. So let me put that all in order for you real quick. Number 1 for you to work on probably goes to mechanics. Number 2 is awareness. Number 3 is going to be thinking. Number 3 will tie between your survivability and your ability usage. Number 4, we're going to put up positioning, and then number 5, with which you don't really even need to work on too much at all, is your visor usage. For the moment, right? Might, of course, once you get higher up, you're probably going to need to use it better, but for the current moment, it's not an issue. Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about, or just anything else in general?
No, like all in all, that was really good. Took some really good notes and stuff, so I appreciate that. It was great.
Alrighty, so then I'm going to stop the recording.